Welcome to another episode of SJS Talks Art. Today I have multiple topics. First topic is that I'm gonna announce a upcoming podcast that I'm gonna do with Altaz. Then I'm gonna talk about collecting, which was inspired by Altaz. I'm gonna talk about the Criterion collection, some of my views on it, which was also inspired by Altaz's latest video. Then I'm gonna talk about Attack on Titan a little bit because I've been rewatching it, although I haven't seen the final yet because I kind of wanted to rewatch it before I go to the final. But I've been kind of I've got the ending has been spoiled to me basically. But whatever, I'm gonna talk about bit about Attack on Titan. Then I'm gonna give you some film recommendations. I don't know what they are yet, but I'm actually in a little bit of a film slump now. But I'll give you some recommendations, and then I'm gonna give you a couple of music recommendations, and then I'm gonna give BJS a shout out in the end as always. Yeah. But I'm gonna again start with this first topic, which is the upcoming podcast I'm gonna do with Altaz. So me and Altaz are planning to shoot the podcast on Saturday, November 18th, and it's gonna be about the Sopranos, which might not be that surprising to you if you watched my previous video or if you watched Altaz's latest video as well. So I'm very excited to do the second podcast with Altaz. We had so much fun when we talked about snobbery and art appreciation on the first collab that we did. So hopefully we will have a great future ahead with these collaborations. Again, it's fun to already do the second one just like 2 weeks after the first one. So yeah, and I kind of have an annoying week this week as I have to study a lot for my Swedish class and prepare a kind of group presentation. I have to prepare my part of the group presentation before Monday. So there's lot of work for that I have to do, which is pretty annoying. But my collab with Altez will kind of take my mind off that for a bit on Saturday. And yeah, it's important to relax when you have these annoying things as well, of course. And I was thinking now that I'm kind of announcing this podcast before it happens that you, my viewers, could leave some of your thoughts about the Sopranos down below, or if you have any questions about the Sopranos that you would like us to answer or something, you can put them down below and we can feature your comments on the podcast. And of course, if you have any other topics or questions for us, you can also leave them down below and we can try to answer them on the podcast. And I think even though the podcast is about the Sopranos, we will probably talk about some other things during the talk as well, but the main focus will be the Sopranos. Yeah. And this dude right here, Richie April, the jacket. Yeah. But look out for that chat. I will try to upload it as soon as I can. We are using StreamYard this time, or that is the plan at the moment, but we'll see. So the recording should also be better quality, both in terms of the audio and picture than last time, but we'll see, we'll see. Well, let's get into collecting now. So this was inspired by, again, Altez's latest video where he had kind of random thoughts about collecting and stuff, and he referred to our first podcast because when we shot that podcast in the pre-recording talk, we also kind of talked about collecting a bit. So so he was kind of referencing some of the points that we made, and he added to that as well. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about why I collect Blu-rays and stuff. And then I'm gonna also talk about blind buying a bit because that was something that was gonna debated on Altez's video and on the comment section. And I'll also talk about the Criterion collection a bit. Some of my thoughts about Criterion that were kind of inspired by some of the comment section exchanges again on that. video that Altaz made. Yeah. So I basically have just like one important reason why I collect Blu-rays, and that is that I enjoy collecting them. I've been a collector since I was born, basically. I've collected VHS, DVDs, Blu-rays, I've collected books, comics, manga, Magic the Gathering cards, Pokemon cards, ice hockey cards, again, CDs and vinyl. So I've always been a collector, and as I've always enjoyed it, I continue to enjoy it. And even though it often doesn't actually really make sense for me, someone with a very small budget, to put money into this stuff, but I just cannot help it. It brings me happiness. Yeah. And I'm someone who watches films through any means necessary. So I basically have access to any film I want to watch online whenever I want to watch them. So I really have no actual like good reasons why I would need to buy these films, because I can watch them otherwise, whether it's through streaming or through other means. But I still again buy them because I like to buy them. And of course, it's nice to support the film industry and these labels, for example, who take part in the restoration process as well. So it's good to, I think, monetarily support your hobbies, because then you can again make the film restoration efforts and stuff like a bit easier for the people who work in them. And of course, same with music. It's great to buy albums because you can at least a little bit support the artists. So the artist through streaming don't really get anything from it. So it's in that way nice to buy albums if you can. But again, my main reason is it's just the fact that I like collecting and I don't really intellectualize my hobby. Again, if you watch these videos on YouTube, they always make these reasons that why physical media is so important, better picture quality, better audio quality than in streaming. The companies might edit the films and take scenes out, so you better buy the physical media when you can. And these types of things, but in the end, I don't care about that stuff that much. I mean, I do care. I don't, for example, like if some fucking assholes in a corporation start editing films or anything like that. Again, I'm completely against censorship and things like that, but still, you can find the original versions of these films online too. You don't have to get it from physical media. So yeah, I like collecting. That's why I collect. Then I could talk about the blind buying a bit. Again, many people can talk against blind buying. Some people are for it. But again, I think it's kind of a meaningless topic to debate in many ways. Because I think if you like blind buying, go do blind buying. If you don't like blind buying, don't blind buy. Again, many people, when they argue about this, it feels like they think that their approach is the only right approach. But I think this is a thing where all approaches are valid. You just do you, what you want to do. There isn't like one objective truth whether blind buying is good or not good. Again, I don't blind buy that much myself due to again a limited budget, and also as I still don't have many of my favorite films on my collection, so I try to prioritize getting those, but I blind buy sometimes, and I do it very carefully, so in the way that I can read about the films and you can think carefully what I buy, because at this point in my life I know my taste really well, so I can usually predict quite accurately whether I'm gonna like something or not. So there isn't that much risk in blind buying for me. And I think I would have a very similar approach even if I was a bit richer. I think I would blind buy a bit more if I had more money, but I wouldn't do it all the time, definitely. And there are certain things that can, like indicator releases, for example. Even if I had the money, I wouldn't get all of them because I'm not that interested in the films and I wouldn't kind of collect labels just to collect them, but I would just get stuff that I'm actually really interested in and that I really want to watch, and I wouldn't be, oh, I have to have all these spine numbers or anything like that, even if I had the money. Yeah. But then again, I think for people who are physical media only, I mean, it would be pretty weird if they didn't blind buy because then they would be just watching the same films over and over again. Although I think Dutch Film Buff said that, again, in Altaz's comments, that why couldn't these people just maybe stream the films beforehand, but some people just hate streaming and everything, so they kind of have to blind buy because they are just so used to physical media, I guess, that they just don't wanna even try out streaming, which is something that I don't necessarily get. But then again, I don't think it's my place to judge how other people who watch films again watch films the way that is comfortable for you and watch the films that you wanna watch. Again, it's not for me to say how other people should approach their Blu-ray buying or film watching. Yeah, again, I can only make suggestions and recommendations, and then you can choose whether you are gonna hear me out or not. But again, I think everybody should just do what they enjoy and again control their own budgets they the way they want to. But again, as I watch films through any means necessary, I don't kind of feel like doing that much blind buying because I can very easily watch those same films like online first and then see if I really love the film and then I can buy it later. But yeah. But of course now that the market is kind of full of these boutique labels and they kind of limited releases, you have the fear of missing out type of feeling often, and it's really very horrible for me because I often have to just admit that fuck, I cannot get that because it's gonna sell out so fast, but I just don't have the money for it. But I've kind of started to get used to the constant disappointments in that area now, but it's sometimes fucking annoying when you really want something, but it's limited edition and you cannot get it. But yeah, that's another topic for another day. But yeah, again, my approach is that live and let live with this thing as well. But yeah, I don't think there is one right approach. Yeah. Let's talk about the Criterion collection. So there was some thoughts about it in the comment section of Altaz's video about how these boutique labels in general, and of course Criterion is the most famous boutique label, have kind of made film or collective films kind of like an elitist hobby, a luxury thing, and not for the kind of regular version that has a small budget. And of course, that's in a way true, but of course, these films are in general again more accessible than they have ever been due to streaming. And again, you can find pretty much any film online if you have decent internet research skills and if you have the willingness to look past the kind of, let's say, official methods. You can find anything and watch it, often with a great quality as well. But many people don't have the either the skill or the willingness to do that. So they have to go through the physical media side, and yeah, it has become a very expensive hobby, and it probably will get even more expensive in the coming years, which is a bit annoying. But what can you do? And of course, you can just buy like regular Blu-rays and stuff. But the thing is that for many of these, of course, if you are like a art house fan and fan of world cinema, for example, you often have to get the kind of expensive boutique releases, whether you want or not, because often these films are only released in the boutique label market. And also, it would be fun to have like a cheaper versions of, I don't know, Last Ceremony, for example. Great Chaperone film, would highly recommend this, by the way. Or like whatever. Yeah. So yeah, in a way they have made the kind of collecting more expensive, but I don't necessarily see a problem, that big of a problem with it because these films are watchable through other methods too. Sometimes you just have to say, I cannot buy these expensive stuff, but at least I can watch the films online. And again, if I was a sensible person, I would probably stop collecting, but I enjoy it. But again, I really have no reason, like any kind of rational reason to collect because I can watch these films through other means, but I just happen to be happen to like collecting and have that collecting habit since I was a kid. So what can you do? Then there was one point that Dutch film buff made about Criterion, how again they're a business, a pretty big business actually, and that he doesn't believe in the good intentions of Criterion Collection, that they just want to make profit or prioritize profit at least. And he mentioned kind of some of the ways that he thinks they prioritize profits, and he said mentioned like female directed films, then he said black cinema, so again African American cinema or African cinema or whatever from black directors. Then he mentioned I think Disney films because again they released Wally, for example, and then he mentioned I think Netflix films. And again there was something about the statement that I disagreed with and some that I agreed with. So obviously, yeah, I think the Netflix films and again something like Wally is definitely there to make profit, but I don't think the female directed or films or the African American cinema are like a way for them to make huge profit because again I don't think many people buy that stuff. Like I haven't seen that many people getting like it's not a burial, it's not a burial, it's a resurrection, or I always forget the exact title of that film, but it's a really good film. I would highly recommend it, but I don't think many people are buying that or Love and Basketball or Love Jones or Reese's Pariah. And I don't think these are some like huge kind of crash gas grab films for Criterion. I think probably many of those titles are actually lose them money. The Marlon Riggs set, for example, which is something that I was really happy to see that they released because those are very interesting films. I haven't seen all of them, but Tongues Untied, for example, I think it's such an excellent, very important film for black queer cinema, again, which is again something that there isn't that much of. Yeah. Um, so I think that release, for example, probably hasn't sold that well, but it's something that I'm really into. I really hope to get that box set someday, but we'll see. But I don't think again many of the kind of average Criterion fans really care about these films, but they care more about the Wes Anderson stuff and Terry Gilliam stuff and always the every single Scorsese film. Like they have to release all of Scorsese's filmography, it feels at this point. And again, those films have most of them have like really good release history already. So like they does like Mean Streets really have to be released on Criterion. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just don't give a fuck about like Scorsese films getting to Criterion. Again, After Hours I can understand because that has bit of a worse um, release history, although I don't really give a fuck about that. But again, I and understand why they would release that one. But yeah, again, I think again the more mainstream cookie cutter titles are the cash grab stuff, and also maybe the Netflix films like The Irishman and stuff. Again, all the cash grab stuff, but I don't think the like female directed films or the um, African American cinema are something that sells that well, unfortunately, because lots of that stuff is really good. I've watched many of them. Again, Pariah, I already mentioned, I really like that film. I want to get the Criterion, and I hope that many more people would see it because it tackles so many interesting themes and very important themes. Um, and yeah, the Marlon Rick set, the Melvin Van Peebles set, Melvin Van Peebles set, but I'm not sure how much that has sold. But But yeah, I don't think those are something that they can make that much profit out of. Okay, they can maybe make their kind of the image of the company a bit better to show that they care about the minority voices and stuff, but I don't think it makes them that much profit because it seems that again most Criterion fans have pretty cookie cutter taste with Scorsese stuff and stuff like that. Again, your taste is your taste, my taste is my taste. It's all fine, but I'm just saying. But yeah, I fully welcome that from Criterion that they release again African American cinema or African cinema. And I really wish that they would release even more African cinema, especially because African cinema is something that is very poorly available. So I would love to see more of that and see those films there that are very interesting. Again, I've liked many African films that I have seen, again, including the ones that Criterion has released. Like I Am Ofe was very interesting. Again, it's not a burial, it's a resurrection. That was very interesting. Yeah. So hopefully more of that to come in the future. But I also feel like they could take this the diversity thing to be even more diverse in the way that they would also release maybe more like Latin American films, especially from the countries where the whose kind of film industries are like very unknown. So again, obviously Latin America, probably Brazil and Argentina, the two countries that have the most well-known cinema industries. But it would be cool if they picked out some other countries and see what are their classic films and release those. And same with even like European cinema again. How many Lithuanian films they have released, or Latvian films, or Estonian films, or Bulgarian films, or whatever film, or even Greek films, or even Finnish films. Again, I think as a Finn, while we don't have the best film industry in the world, and there haven't been that many really talented directors that come from Finland, but I think there are many films that are still really good that would be cool if they got releases elsewhere. Yeah. So I would love to see if they could kind of release more and more kind of wide range of films in terms of like countries and stuff. Yeah. And again, queer cinema, it would be cool to get more of that. Obviously, there's like a decent chunk of that in the Criterion collection, but I think there could be way more, and there are stuff that hasn't been released. Again, Criterion releases quite a bit of like modern films, but somehow they haven't released any Xavier Dolan films, for example. And some of the Xavier Dolan films, even though he's a like fairly popular director, it's actually kind of weird that how some of his films are pretty hard to get on Blu-ray. Yeah, I would love to see, for example, I Killed My Mother or Lawrence anyways to come on Criterion collection. Love those two films a lot. Yeah, but I'm still always excited to see Criterion announcements. Actually, one is coming out today. It should probably come in a couple of hours, so too bad that I cannot cover it in this video. But yeah, again, I'm gonna move on now. But that was some thoughts about Criterion. I'm still like the label, but I think they could do even better. And again, I'm not very excited about like Terry Gilliam 4Ks or Scorsese 4Ks, but I know many people are. So for you, so I'm not gonna talk about this that much because I talked about it in the one of the TV show videos. But again, Attack on Titan has just finished after the 10-year journey. I've been rewatching it now. I'm now in the fourth season, I think 8th episode or something. So still a couple dozen episodes to go. Probably will finish it maybe tomorrow. I still haven't seen the final. I've seen everything else before, but final. But again, I'm gonna rewatch the rest before I watch the final. But I've been spoiled about the final. But I've heard that it's a bit different than the manga. And I can, when I first watched Attack on Titan, I just checked online what the manga ending was. But yeah, from what I've heard about the ending, it sounds like I will probably like it, even though I know some people haven't liked it that much. But I think I will probably enjoy it. Yeah. But I don't know all the details about the final, so there definitely are some things that I'm gonna be surprised about. I know that many of the bigger things like what happens to Eren and Mikasa and whatever. Yeah. I don't wanna go into spoilers because I want to recommend this show to everybody who hasn't watched it yet. It's such an roller coaster of different emotions and many different plot twists. Yeah, tackles so many themes from like human suffering to political corruption to antinatalism to so many things. Yeah, it's both in some ways fairly realistic, but then of course it has that supernatural element too, and it's both kind of highbrow and lowbrow. There's the themes, it's definitely quite highbrow. Tackles lots of very important, universal and difficult themes, but then it has those big intense fights as well and very epic music. So yeah, but a very entertaining show with an incredibly intricate plot. I absolutely adore. There are some characters that I like less than others, but again, as the plot is so strong, I don't really mind that there are some characters that I'm not the biggest fan of. Yeah, but I'm very excited to watch the final, and it's been such a great journey to watch this again. I have to say that on my this is my second watch that I this time I like the third season a bit less than on my first watch, but then on the second and third season I kind of absolutely love that stuff again. And by the way, when I say the first season, what the first season are, I still like really like it and I think it's really great, but I think it wasn't quite as exciting on the second watch when you don't know when you know what happens. Yeah, but still really good stuff, and the animation is top notch. And some of the best anime music ever. So yeah, what a great show. But now I have to come up with some film recommendations for you. Maybe I'll just show you some of my like diary. Um, I've kind of talked about many of these films in other like recent collaborations and stuff. But Blue Period is on Netflix. Again, I mentioned that on my podcast with Altaz, but that's one that I would highly recommend. 12 episodes on Netflix. Go watch it. Oh, I rewatched My Neighbor Totoro, which I ended up loving this time a lot. Become a favorite. It actually made me cry in the end. Yeah, I'm such a softie these days. Yeah, I cried like a baby in the end. Yeah. But this was actually the first Studio Ghibli film I ever watched. It was when I was a kid, and then it didn't leave that much of an impression on me. But this was my second time watching it now after like probably 15-year break, or even maybe more than 15 years. And now I just absolutely adore it. I watched it on Netflix. Netflix obviously has most of the Studio Ghibli films and lots of other anime. So, so yeah, it has such a simple but beautiful story with such a great animation, great music. The child characters are so good because they feel so real and childlike, and yeah, the Totoro is so cute as well, and yeah, and it has again the story is also it's very entertaining, simple, very thrilling near the end when the kid goes missing and stuff. But yeah, what a beautiful film. And again, like I said, I cried to it. So yeah. Ponyo, on the other hand, was a Studio Ghibli film that I didn't like quite as much. This felt to me more like the type of thing that it's really made for kids, but it doesn't really hold up as an adult. But I think it was still a good kids film, but it just felt to me like more kid-like because of course many of these Studio Ghibli films they work both for kids and for adults, but this one felt like it worked more for kids than adults. But yeah, the Memories of Matsuko was very interesting. It's from the same director as Kamikaze Girls that I've been hyping in some videos, but I like this less than Kamikaze Girls, even though I think maybe this is generally more highly rated. But I have to say that the visual style here, like it's absolutely just so stunning. Again, my aesthetic, just like Kamikaze Girls. Yeah, so I really appreciate the director's visual style, but then some of the other stuff left me cold at moments, but I feel like this might be something that I like more on a rewatch. I rewatched Chuck Demi's Donkey Skin. I would say that's a bit of an underrated film. I think it's a masterpiece, and it feels kind of weird in a way how it is. So beautiful, fairy tale like, yeah, so colorful and bright, but then when you look at the story, it's about a father who tries to marry his daughter, and the daughter has to escape her father. So in that way, the story is quite dark in many ways, but how it's done, it's so bright and beautiful, and I love Jacques Demi's style. Yeah, but yeah, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, good anime as well, so I would highly recommend that one as well. VRL was a fun rewatch. But yeah, let's move on. So now a couple of very quick music recommendations. So this I talked about already on my latest favorite albums video, so that's why I'm gonna keep it short. But I just have to recommend this again because this is my current biggest obsession out of any art form. So it's Yeule and her latest album, Soft Scars, that you have here a picture. And they were born in the same year as me, 1997. That makes me feel so good about myself. But I like Glitch Princess as well and Serotonin too, but this new one is just it's so fucking good. It's so good. So if you want that very contemporary sounding dream pop shoegazy indie stuff with very fun lyrics, beautiful vocals, great vocal melodies and hooks, incredibly good production with beautiful soundscapes. Yeah, this is an album for you. Nice 40-minute long album with perfect track list. I love all these songs. Yeah, yeah. So shout out to this. Please listen to this if you haven't. I hope that Yule is gonna really blow up. I mean, they are very quite popular in the music nerd circles already, and I know they've been um, touring. I think in the US, and I feel like again they are um, rising in popularity all the time. But hopefully they will blow up even more. I think Yule deserves it. Yeah. I just love this album. I think it's probably soon gonna be in my top 50 of all time. It might already be. I love it that much. Again, it's just like made for me. We are match made in heaven. Thank you, Yule, for making this beautiful record. I cannot get tired of it. Yeah. Then I've talked about Kinoko Teikoku a couple of times on my channel, but I finally listened to some of their other albums. I had only listened to Eureka that you have here, which is one of my favorites of all time, but now I listened to a couple of the others and they became favorites as well. This is Peaches, by the way. Shout out to Peaches, and I'm gonna give you a more beautiful shout out in a bit. So I listened to this one, Uchu Ninaru. So this is indie dream pop shoegazy stuff with incredible female vocals with great instrumentations, and it leans a bit more to that indie rock side than some other shoegaze groups do, but I really enjoy it. There's some nice drumming, great sounding guitars, and it's so lush and beautiful, very emotional. Yeah, I don't understand the lyrics, but it feels like it says here, like very melancholic, but absolutely incredible album. So I think Peaches, I know you liked Eureka, so I know you will probably like this one too. And then also I listened to one of their EPs, which came out in the same year as Eureka. I think this came out after Eureka, so it's called Long Goodbye in English. And it's pretty much the same comments for this one as for that one. I mean, they're a bit different, but mostly similar type of stuff. 20 minutes long, very easy. listen, and just absolutely incredible. This is the type of stuff that I absolutely live for, and I'm always in the mood for this kind of stuff. Too bad they have disbanded, but I still have some of these other albums to listen to. Again, based on the ratings, they might not be as good, but hopefully I really like them. Yeah. But now I'm gonna give Peach as a shout out, and I just want to read these like our comments because these are just I mean they are they are just quite funny. So I'll try to do this in my French impression. You can see all the emojis how they just make it more intense. Well, I'll read this comment particularly, but I like this line that I made like here in the end. Um, Our lives will be all gummy and teddy bears from now on, my sweet peaches. Keep spreading your both divine and loving gospel as loud as Baudelaire's heart was beating when he wrote Flowers of Evil. Yeah, it's hard to do the French accent when I'm not saying the stuff that he actually said in the OC. So I'll try to do some fucked up accent here. Um, Again, Tony's comments were great here too. Oh, my peaches, I want to hold you in my arms and cuddle while we passionately discuss Merleau-Ponty's phenomenology and Deleuze's views on Nietzsche. Flaubert and Baudelaire will guide me through my love for you, while Balzac will hold me to reality, so that I won't completely lose myself on your bosom, peaches. Husserl will help me see how I perceive my love for you, my little peach. Sartre will teach me why I feel this deep existential anguish when I'm not with you, mon amour. Rainy Lanes will show me a visualization on what it is like to be with you, peaches. My life with you is full of color, love, beauty, cheese, and warmth. Oh, how I adore you, Taylor, my little bash. I still remember the sight of you naked on your back in the French countryside. That voluptuous image has been ingrained in my mind just like the flower night of George Rosecrosh. Your angelic voice calls to me like Liz Fraser in Heaven or Las Vegas. It gives me both divine sensations of my flesh. It is an orgasm to my unworthy ears. Thank you for being in my life, Peaches. I adore every second of my life that I spent with you eating cheese and making love. Shit damn. Yeah, couldn't do the accent properly. Yeah. When I tried to use references that Peaches would know. Yeah. Yeah, these are so much fun to write. It's great, nice to be like little creative with this bullshit. Yeah. Um, Voluptuous, I use that word a lot because it's with peaches because it's one of my favorite words in English language. I think I learned it from reading Flaubert's Madame Bovary, one of my favorite books. And I think in French literature, it's a word that you see quite often, which is understandable. Yeah, but I just love how it sounds. Voluptuous. And I like that kind of similar type of sounding words like atrocious is one of my favorites as well. So the OUS thing in the end is something that I think makes words sound good, I guess, but random things as well. Yeah. So thank you for all these comments, people. Thank you, Peaches. You seem particularly ripe today. Yeah. You once even rejected me or Henri Michel for someone as uncivilized as Ryan, who didn't know Neen's poetry or Sartre's philosophy. So I'm not convinced yet, my peaches. We will just have to wait and see, and hopefully that divine ear candy will enchant my little peaches, just like Baudelaire's beautiful poetry did when we were in Paris. Yeah. So anyway, thanks for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts about any of the things that I mentioned here. Um, and thank you, my little page, for being in my life. And yeah, je t'aime, peaches, mon amour. Yeah. But yeah, thanks for watching. Don't drink all the coke. Sayonara and arigatou gozaimashita.